Hello apes. So there's a couple of scenarios that are printing right now for BTC. There's one with upside, and then there's one with some additional downside from where we are. As I'm doing this, we're at 59,000, so there's already been a bit of a decline. We've been tracking this head and shoulders pattern since last night. You'll notice here the left shoulder is lower than the right shoulder, the head is above both, and the neckline is sloping upward from here to here. So this is a clear head and shoulders pattern. Now, it's on a 4 hour, so this is more relevant than if you were on a lower time frame, but this would be the minimal time frame I'm looking for a proper pattern to print. So once we attach the neckline, if we fall and close below the neckline at a certain price, uh, the likelihood of this playing out, the full pattern, is very high. So in this instance here, I mean, it's depending on how you draw the neckline, but I did my best to kind of line it up. And you'll see here on this candle, we close below the neckline. The immediate candle thereafter, there's a massive drop. Looks like 3-4%. Let's mark it in from here to here. Yeah, so 3.3% drop. So right now we're in that pattern completion area where this is printing to the downside. No guarantee this is going to play through. But in the event that it does, what we do is we simply take from the neckline here to the tip of the head, and then whatever that exact space is, we copy that down to here, and that's the measured move, which would take us from zone 1, where we were chopping around in previous, into zone 2. And this is overlaid onto the macro BTC chart. So we've basically charted 3 zones. This is where most of the action, most of the price action occurs. And then as we fall out of each one of these specific zones, the likelihood of us chopping in between in this no man's land increases dramatically. And you'll see that we'll stay in those areas for quite a while before we actually re-enter zones. So let's see, for this one here, once we fell in the zone, we chopped around intermittently for 59 days, so that's quite a while, quite a long time. Anyway, we'll go back into the 4 hour pattern. So the one thing we have going as we descend is we have some support areas. I'm using support resistance V2 in the indicators, and I backtested, it's fairly good. Usually I create my own manual zones, but this one will do. So we have some local support at 57,608, and we have some more over here at 55. We have stronger support. And then the next move is essentially we're in zone 2. And then if we get trapped in here, we could bounce around a bit, but then either way, we're likely to bounce around in here for at least 2 weeks, I'd imagine. So ideally, we want to see the price action re-enter zone 1 so that we can start building bids in this area, as opposed to falling into zone 2 and then basically eliminating any opportunity for alt season to start for another 30 days, you know. So anyway, this is the descending pattern that we're following. Now if we go into another chart here that I have ready to go, here's the positive pattern that could be playing out. So I track harmonics for all time frames just to see what's playing out, what's printing in real time. And it looks like on the 4 hour, which we want to basically overlay 4 hour charts with 4 hour charts. So we had the negative pattern, which is the head and shoulders in the 4 hour. So I'm always looking for a equal and opposite pattern on the 4 hour as well. And in this case, we have a positive trend reversal pattern on the 4 hour, the bullish cipher. You'll see when we connect these points, there's some inconsistencies. So this first leg, the retracement does fall within the range here at 43.7%. However, it's not a textbook bullish cipher because on the next retrace to the C leg, we do 1.449x of the X to A move. So basically 145% of this move X to A. And the requirement in the ratios is up to 141.4, so we're slightly above it. Now, I'm okay with that, and I still think it's a valid bullish cipher only because with the amount of manipulation going on in BTC right now, a lot of these moves are exaggerated moves in order to liquidate shorts and longs. So basically, they're trying to trick pattern traders into, you know, entering their position right at the apex of the trend reversal, and then they're trying to stop them out on both sides. So I look for that whenever these patterns are happening. It doesn't have to be a perfect pattern. It just has to be more or less the same XABCD, and then as long as it's showing the same visual perimeter of the pattern, and we deviate maybe by 5%, let's say, on either one of these retracements, I'm okay with that. So if we look at the 4-hour pattern, we're basically on the final leg, C to D, and if it does complete and we tread along this line over here, even if we go above it and we dip below it, but the overall mean regression line goes down to the D. Once we hit D, I would expect a bounce, and that bounce is likely to the A point over here. Minimum 50% of this last move I would look for, but again, it could only be a 382 retracement as well. Point being, if we complete at the D, we're at 5679, so that's the number I'm really trying to watch, and it actually coincides with the negative pattern that we're tracking here. The measured move, so where the support comes in is 57,638. So basically, if we don't get the support here at 57,368, and there's any real reversal over here, we kind of did, but I mean, this is still weak right now. If it continues to decline, then basically I'm validating this pattern, and the bullish cipher will no longer be valid once we hit anywhere in this region over here in this local support. So once we get to that 55, let's say 55,000, then this is no longer valid, and it's likely to come down into zone 2. So that's the number I'm kind of looking at, between that 56 to 57. Anything below that, I start getting a little bit worried and going into stables increasingly as we go down. And I'm looking for a trend reversal over here at D. If we don't get it, and bids don't step in aggressively, I want to see an aggressive bounce from D, then that could signal weakness and that we're treading down that line on the head and shoulders pattern completion. So then I'm out. But hopefully this helps give both perspectives and what to expect. If we complete the head and shoulders, the measured move would take us to 51,980. Not likely, but I mean, technically speaking, that's the actual number we should be looking for. So hopefully this helps give perspective, and if you have any questions, let me know. I'm always here. Cheers.